Hello everybody, this is Nick Newman with the Conscienticon, where we share practical, spiritual, occult wisdom. And in today's episode of the Conscienticon, it is my sincerest hope that people walk away from this video with a major paradigm shift change, a major shift in their core beliefs and ideas that will allow them to be more brave and bold and graceful and powerful. The thing is quite paradoxical. The key to this shift is to embrace death and suffering. And we say death and suffering. Why? Because by overcoming the core fear of death and suffering, you overcome all fears, just like the Zen masters have. It is my hope by the end of this video, we all acquire at least a brief sense of Satori, or Zen Mastery. And please feel free to hit the like button before we proceed. It is my opinion that Zen philosophy is the finest treasure that Buddhism has ever produced. There have been many great Zen temples built across Japan and across the world. These temples are adorned in gold and very well kept and absolutely exquisitely beautiful. We have had Zen monks across time living in finer establishments than most individuals have, without any of what I would call the burden of ownership. You see, long ago, there used to be warlords that would run Japan, and these warlords happened to have crossed paths with Zen monks. And the thing about Zen monks is Zen monks truly do not give a fuck. These warlords would try to toy with the monks and threaten them, and the thing is, the monks would say, hey, there's nothing you can do to me. There's nothing that you can do that will make me afraid of you or anything in this world. And of course, these guys tested them, right? And what's funny is, they really couldn't kill them, because if they were to kill them, they would never really know if these guys were fearless or not. But with some probing, they were convinced that these Zen masters truly had an up on the universe. They had something that these warlords and these warriors didn't have, and that was absolute fearlessness. So in an attempt to learn this fearlessness and teach their soldiers and their warriors this technique, they decided to give these Zen monks these lavish temples and these places to stay in which they can train and practice their discipline. So in a roundabout way, by giving up everything, these monks ended up with everything. Throughout time thereafterward, martial arts was heavily influenced by Zen principles, and samurai and ninja also adopted many of these ideas, which allowed them to accept death. So without further ado, let's get into these principles, these core principles of Zen that will allow many of you out there to accept these ideas and to walk the world gracefully and tremendously increase your power and influence everywhere you go. And if this excites you, please like and subscribe to the Conscienticon so we can get sharper and brighter together. Alan Watts tells us a story about how it is as if all of us were kicked off of a great precipice when our life began. We just started falling. We started falling forever. And if you look down, you see that the end is coming. This seeing that the end is coming is something almost unique to humans, I would say. I'm not sure if any other animals on our world are actually aware that they're going to die or not, but human beings certainly see the bottom coming, and they see it coming fast. Now, as we are falling from this precipice, we look around and we see so many other beings, so many other rocks falling from this precipice. Many of us choose to cling to other rocks or other things that are consistently falling. You see, it isn't just us that is falling. It is every concept, every material, everything in the universe that we think is static is actually unraveling and falling with us. So the true madness lies in the clinging of things around you, hoping that it's going to stop the inevitable. As we are falling, we cling to other rocks and other individuals or ideas or materials, and we cling to this hoping that it's going to spare us from the end. But the things that we cling to are also going to the end. Death and suffering are absolute and failing to recognize this keeps you in a fear-like stasis. It is the removal of this clinging, the enjoying of the playfulness of the fall that gives us the power over death. Our second major idea is understanding that we all operate with base metaphysical beliefs and not a single one of them truly holds water. You see, I used to truly believe when I was little that if I believed in God and loved God and prayed to God, that God would spare me from suffering or spare me from death and pain. However, upon closer inspection of reality and learning through real experience and things that have happened to me, I come to find that the world is full of the most awful things that you and I can imagine, and things that are even more awful than that. You see, I have seen people die of brain cancer. I have seen people who are good and honorable and loving die from the most unfair things that you can imagine. You see, this belief that God would save me was given to me from my mother. However, she had suffered a childhood where she was consistently molested by my grandfather. And on top of that, suffered extreme poverty and was a victim to many malicious individuals throughout her life. As we sit together now, there are kids in the world, in factories, that are slowly suffocating from toxic fumes and toxic things within their environment, in jobs that they cannot escape, and we get to benefit or reap the rewards of their suffering through the electronics that we consume, the media that we consume, and all of these things that we purchase. And when I was a child, I would question this, and the question would be answered with something along the lines of, well, the Lord works in mysterious ways. And now I've come to the conclusion that no, this is the way the Lord works. This is the way. Everyone has a core metaphysical belief that can be scrutinized and broken fairly easily if inspected. And a lot of individuals actually cling to suffering as their core metaphysical belief. Alan Watts explains this humorously with the quote, "Oh, I bless the good Lord for my boils, for my mental and bodily pains, for without them my faith all congeals, and I am doomed to hell's near-ending flames." See, people in the world, me included, cling to these beliefs in order to dampen the reality of suffering and inevitable death. Even the nihilistic belief that this is the only experience you're going to have, and when it's over, you have nothing, isn't necessarily true. Perhaps when it's over, you have more of the same for all infinity. This is one of Buddha's major revelations, in that even if we die now, we are doomed to be consciously aware in other forms for all of eternity. And this grinding, this cycle, is known within Buddhism as samsara. And the goal of most people that practice Buddhism is to escape samsara through enlightenment. Our third principle here is that everything is falling apart. Everything is in a constant state of flux. Within Hermeticism, this is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. In the wise words of Alan Watts, there is no security at all. You simply have to face this fact, that everything is in flux, and go, 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 go with it. So many alchemists across time have searched for the power of transmutation without realizing that they themselves are transmutative by nature, and we can never escape this. A simple koan can help us understand this. Everything that you have cannot be you. Everything that is given to you cannot be you. As you grow, you steal components from reality, these other vibrational, transmutational things, and we cluster them together to create these bodies. But at the end of the day, even though we are accumulating it, it is still not truly us. It is not truly you. You are truly the droning of the endless, eternal now, as if you were a wave cutting through an ocean of yourself. And we are in this form as a steady wave, or a singularity within a sea of infinite. And if there is truly no security for any of us in the universe, or anything in this universe, then we are doomed to concede and say that the point here is to play and experience things. So why is it that we struggle so much to play? Which leads us to our fourth principle. True faith requires no effort. In order for us to be brave and to face fear, or to let go of the things that we cling to, we must understand that true faith requires no effort. See, no matter what faith you follow, no matter what religion you believe in, you still pray, and when times get rough, you still think of your God or your deity or your spirit or whatever. And in this prayer, you are still clinging. You see, there would be no need to pray or to cling or to believe at all if you had true faith, because you know that God has you. When I was younger, if I had true faith, I would have no need to pray through suffering or to pray for people around me. If I had true faith, I would understand that all of this was some part of a divine plan. And I need not pray, because no matter where I go, God is with me. And I truly believe this now, not in the Christian God, but in the sense that everything that we experience are more versions of us. And the differences in all of these versions of us are the memory or the accumulation of whatever mass or connections that it has. These accumulations of experience. And these differences in these accumulations of experience provide the game or the whole show. Zen masters understand that death is inevitable, and they have true faith in the idea that because it is inevitable, that we just simply need to be. There's no further requirement for our existence. We simply need to be, which gives us the permittance we need to stand up to people and to live our lives righteously as we truly wish to live it. Marcus Aurelius coined the term memento mori, that we remember our death. Not that we cling or worry that this death is accelerating towards us, but we acknowledge that eventually this experience changes, so we should embrace every single moment that we have. There's no reason to push or to cling or to try, because you already are. So you simply need to do what you want to do. Now, before we proceed with two more principles, I'd like to stop and thank the patrons for supporting the Conscienticon. I thank you guys so very deeply, and I'm happy for you guys to be here with me and to be growing with me in your power and your wisdom, and to have been here for this ride as we're almost on 1,000 subscribers. Absolutely fantastic. And if you guys viewing would like to become patrons as well, we have exclusive videos on our Patreon page and books that are exclusively free on our Patreon page as well. So if you join, you can get access to all that and join the party there. So our fifth principle comes in the form of a story. See, once there was a divine being who was made up of all things, and this divine being, well, was kind of bored, right? Because around it, all it had to look at was the void, which was more of itself, by the way. And so it decided to play a game by segmenting itself into many different forms, different perspectives, let's say. So it created a large, infinite room, an empty room, and filled this room with machinations of itself. And we could call these angels. So these angels were there and were given mundane tasks that required the shifting of reality. This shifting of reality created some sort of a fun dynamic, let's say. Now, everything began to get static again. So God decided to place a single flower within the room, and this flower represented his voice, or his love, divine love. And the closer the angels got to it, the better they felt. They felt warm. They felt truly secure in everything. You see, love is truly security. And he provided this by creating a single locus in the center of all things. And the trouble is, the angels on the outside of the rim were trying to get deeper and closer to this love, but couldn't get it. So they were doomed to set on the outside. Then we had these spirits begin to fight in order to become closer with the divine word or this love, because they had forgot that they were part of it all. No matter how far away they were from the light, they truly were the same thing as that light. So our fifth principle is that we are the universe experiencing itself. Everything that we experience, including our experience itself, is a consequence of the machinations within the universe. We are emergent in that sense, and thus our consciousness is absolutely fundamental. It may be the only fundamental thing that we cannot break, because everything that we believe hinges on consciousness. Everything that we see and experience hinges on this very core idea that you experience at all. So as we look at the world around us, we can come to the conclusion that everything within the world is experiencing in its own unique way, and in a way that you and I may never fathom in this form. And not only are they experiencing, they are us experiencing it. And this is part of Gautama's divine revelation and understanding of samsara. He saw himself as the insects and the birds around him. He saw himself in many infinite iterations of life, for there was no separation, and thus separation is the game. And my final principle of Zen mastery lies in the understanding of irreducible rascality. See, there are components within you and I that are just as vicious and ruthless as other components within reality. There are pieces of us that are designed to not have empathy for certain things that we inflict suffering on. This is an irreducible rascality. This is an irreducible, deep evil within every single one of us. And this deep evil within all of us is this clinging. See, no matter who you are, you will always have this desire to cling, this desire to claim things, this desire to participate in the game, because it is hardwired within every one of us. And if it wasn't, we would not have survived to be here and express our consciousness in these forms. So many people go through the world with this sense of superiority over other people, and this sense of superiority is coming from this idea that they are not evil or wicked inside, that everything that they're doing is justified, when it is absolutely not. All of us have wronged other people. I have hurt people tremendously throughout my life, and this is due to this part of me that is innately evil. It is innately striving to survive, and no matter what we do, we can never ever get rid of this. However, by accepting that it is a truth, we can see it. We can see the clinging. We can see our striving for things that are not beneficial to ourselves or others. And when we see this, this gives us a moment of divine disconnection, a moment of separateness from that, so that we may control it, so that we may take reins of the beasts within us and actually guide them to things that are constructive. No matter how much I want to believe that I am altruistic and super loving, this YouTube channel would not exist if I wasn't able to make some sort of monetary value off of it. And this is at first something that disgusted me, because I couldn't understand why I couldn't just give away things for free. But then I found that this rascality, this deep desire to claim resource, is something that fueled my propensity to actually deliver that value in the first place. Because if I didn't want it, I just wouldn't do anything at all. You see, if we didn't cling or we didn't desire, we wouldn't do anything at all, which would ruin the point of the game, which is that it's a game that you and I are here to try and experience, and all this suffering and death around us help condition us to continue to push forward and play the game righteously. See, in my story before, with the angels and God's word in the center, of all of this, God placed his word love in the center of all things so that there would be a consistent draw or polarity towards that love. And this created the dynamic of suffering that creates the whole game. An old Zen master told his disciple once that he needs to go and relinquish desire. And so he did. And then upon meditation, he realized that he was desiring not to desire, which was more desire. And then, we come to the conclusion that this desire is fundamental. And not only is it fundamental, because desire is suffering, suffering is fundamental. And thus, this gives us the very firmament of our human experience. It gives us the reason to play the game. So my friends, please embrace life. Live this life as well as you can, and know that no matter what you do, there's nothing that you can do that's truly wrong, because in the end, it's all unraveled and done again anyway. So please express yourself fully, bravely, and be righteous, and be the person that you want to be, my friends, because there really isn't anything better to do. And if you would like to learn more about this irreducible rascality, please check out our last video on shadow work for beginners, which basically breaks down vile human nature and how you get back traits that you have buried deep within yourself. This is Nick Newman with the Conscienticon, and I'd like to stop and ask you all to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you may grow more powerful with us and learn as I am learning as well. And I thank you all so very deeply for helping us spread practical, spiritual, occult wisdom.